and welcome to another show of CyberMasters. Wanted to reintroduce my guest, Artie Sintef.
How you doing?
Suffolk County Politics. Very interesting take on what's going on in the next upcoming 12 to 24 months in local politics in this New York region. I think it's an important region in that there's quite a bit of people there. What is it, 1.4 million residents currently?
Around there.
And I think it's important to know that there's taking a local government like this and making all the pieces fit together is not always so easy. What interests you in local politics?
Just tired of what goes on. You know, somebody needs to step up who's not part of the typical regime, somebody who talks with the common people, someone who actually cares what the townspeople care about, actually talking to them and getting their opinions, instead of doing what your friends and family and everybody else want you to do.
Why is it that it's so common for the regulars or the people who constantly get reelected to get reelected? Is it because they recognize their names on the ballot, or where does that come from?
A lot of it is most people will vote party line no matter what. I think it's around 70% of each part are going to vote party line. It doesn't matter who they're voting for. You do have other people who do research, everybody, but in general, they vote party line. If you win once, you got a better shot to win again because your name's already out there. You're on the line, and you have the money and backing.
So you were under the independent party, is that correct?
I'm actually a completely blank independent. I'm not even an independent
Completely
party.
blank independent. What,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
I'm currently registered Democrat, but I'm probably going to run as a independent, which means no line at all except my own. So it's just going to be me. I'm not going to have the Democratic line or the Republican line or anybody else. It'll just say independent and then my name.
Isn't it true that it's tough to really win an election that way? And aren't you really taking away from somebody who could win if that wasn't in the way, if you will?
Yes and no. Winning-wise, it's almost impossible. This is where you have to get your points out. You have to start talking about the issues and getting your name out there, really setting up and prepping for the next time you run, and getting your town's issues out there, and maybe some politicians will actually pick up on it.
So you believe by being completely independent, at some point, someone will believe in you, if you will, or take you under their wing, if you will? How does that happen?
You get enough name recognition, you get enough votes, you start making a difference and get your face out there, and somebody might say, hey, we'll run with you, we'll run you.
Don't you have to start within a particular party, or can you be a sort of outsider and move your way in?
You can move your way in. Like I said, I just recently switched to the Dems. I screened with the Democrats recently. They did choose some other people, which is fine. You know, it's party politics. But I'm going to go in now and show them that, you know, I could have been a great candidate for either side, Republican or Democrat. And I'm going to make my name known, and I'm going to be out there, and I'm going to pull votes from both sides. I'm not worried about stealing from one or the other. I'm so middle ground, I'm going to pull from both. So I'm not even worried about that.
What was that like? Can you tell us a little bit what that's like to be in the running, or to be accepted or not accepted?
Like for a screening type thing with the parties?
Yeah, for like a screening for the party.
You sit with chair, like the board of whatever party you screen with, and little introduction. And question after question on local issues. If it's a local running race, like I'm running for town councilman, it'll be a town issues, housing, environmental, water, taxes, basic stuff. And then they do get in some party politics of gun control and
What's your strongest issue that you know the most or care the most about?
With my town, it's big on saving the taxpayers' dollars, but also helping the environmental issues and still keeping some of our social programs.
How are you saving taxpayer dollars? What's your methods?
Cutting out waste. We waste so much money on ridiculous things. If you look at the amount of people hired in the towns, it's friends, family, paper, you know, just people aren't really even there half the time. There's so much money wasted. We spend a lot of money on parks and stuff, right? Great thing to have a park in a town, right?
Sure.
But do we need to spend millions of dollars and have the town taxpayers pay for it?
Well, there's a level of safety control that goes into that. I mean, I work in government and realize that these playgrounds are built with extreme scrutiny. I mean, they're a couple of 100,000 each.
But who has to pay for them, though?
You know, well, the taxpayers.
Oh, how about we get sponsorship? Northwell Park. Langone Park, local businesses, people chip in.
That makes a lot of sense.
They get their
They'd be
name on
even
there.
better parks.
It could be better, even because now you're almost not really privatizing it, but the money's coming from a private sector, and they're going to do something because their name's on it. They're going to make it look good. They're going to put the extra money into it, and their name's on it. Everybody's going to know who they are.
Yeah, that makes a heck of a lot of sense. What about environmental? What's your take on what's happening? I mean, Suffolk County has the particle accelerator. Isn't that huge?
Yeah, the scientific side of that's great, but we also have a lot of other issues. Our water's been ranked one of the lowest in the area in a while. They've shown all these different chemicals in our waters. All they want to do is build over the green spaces right now. The more green spaces you build over, the more you're going to hurt the aquifers and the runoff of the water, take away the animals, the wildlife, the trees. Like you're hurting whatever's left and you're turning Long Island into Queens. Which eventually...
I love Queens. I mean, some of the Greek food is fantastic.
The food's amazing. I work in Queens quite a bit. I love Queens, but we live on Long Island for a reason. We have our trees, we have our parks, it's very different than that city life.
Okay. And what do you see, what's your method? Can you explore a little bit what your method is, I guess, or how you would go about it, if you will?
With the environmental?
Yeah.
A lot of the places like that, you got to look, a lot of them have historical value.
Okay.
We can look at the historical angles, you can look at the environmental impact issues on each property, and some of them even archaeological. You're looking at
archaeological,
a lot of Native American lands, burial grounds and stuff. Long Island's
Native American land in Suffolk County, of course.
Huge.
I mean, every town's known after an Indian name.
Yeah, Indian Hill and everything else, and nobody really wants to dig in and actually get somebody out here to actually investigate these places.
All right, I have an outside question for you.
Amen.
The Indian culture was very spiritual.
Yes.
They actually, some believed in curses. Is it possible that the Indian culture left curses behind for us when we took over this area?
It's an interesting thing that I have no idea how to answer. But I'm sure it's possible. I mean,
I would imagine that they weren't too happy in the end what we did.
We pretty much wiped them out.
Well, yeah, you know. And, I mean, how much is left? I mean, you have the Indian reservations out there, right?
They put them on the reservation. They give them a
and don't they sell marijuana? Can't they sell marijuana?
Cigarettes, marijuana, yeah. Basic
really?
stuff.
Is it good quality? Is it worth going? I would assume that's got to be, low quality because the cigarettes they have there, they're kind of earthy.
Generic and earthy, yeah.
I mean, earthy is a good way to put it. So,
but there is a lot of history on Long Island when you come to the Native Americans, going back, and we kind of forgot about a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen old maps where they show the different Indian reservations that lived here.
Yep.
I mean, so much is that it's completely forgotten by our generation, right?
Yep.
I mean, what a shame, right?
How many of these could be burial grounds for their whole, village and everything that we just kind of paved over?
Yeah. I mean, that's sad, right? So what do you do about that? Where do you go from there?
Well, that's when you start working with some of the reservations and some of the native bigger groups out here and see if you can get them involved. And eventually if somebody wants to build, they might have to start digging in and start doing an archaeological study on some of these places.
Archaeological studies, good point. I mean, they haven't found any pyramids on Long Island, right? Have they? Or they haven't told us? I know I'm going a little mystical here. But I guess where I'm going with this conversation, is it possible that land ownership over generations through the Indians was rewritten by people who were no longer remembered from the past? And there could be ownership to some of those lands that has been forgotten and is written somewhere?
Somewhere, or lost somewhere, illegally obtained and just kind of hid under the table. But things were passed around that people shouldn't have had. Towns probably shouldn't have owned some of those properties.
Really. That must be really hard to dig.
Yeah.
How does that work? So those people die off and somebody else takes over the land. How does that take place? Do you know?
Violence. Typically, no. Like I said, that's colonial patent laws and a lot of stuff like that. Which is
colonial patent laws. Got it. I've heard about this.
You'd have to go dig deep through the colonial patents and find out where the governors and everything else were signed off and the land was purchased. But that's a lot of digging and it's not a lot of paper trails. So
wow, that's interesting. It was to their benefit to that documentation to not be available,
of course.
if you will. So what's your next step? Where are you going from this? What's the next piece here for you?
My next step probably would be decide if I'm going to run a full independent campaign or maybe try to challenge one of the major parties in a primary. But it's something I have to think about and decide. But I'm probably going to run an independent race, get my voice out there, get my name out there, and work in the towns that most politicians ignore. I'm in Huntington Town.
Okay.
Beautiful town. Most people care about Lloyd Harbor, Centerport, Northport, the bigger towns, the more money towns.
Okay.
Dix Hills, West, big areas. Towns like parts of Huntington Station and things like that are forgotten. We don't have any representation. There's not a lot of voices that come from there, and I live there. It's my town.
The large population of people.
Huge.
I mean,
Huge.
What is it? 500,000 people or 400,000 people? It's a huge number.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of mixed cultures, and it's a very ethnic neighborhood, and they don't have a voice.
And there's legislators who cover that area. So how do they interact with their constituents?
Yeah, I think most legislators in most towns try to appease them. Throw some money their way for a little building or something, or a little bit of making it a little beautification.
Okay.
But
how far does that go?
Nowhere.
Why not?
It doesn't solve any of the real problems because they don't know the real problems because they're not in those towns. They're not in those communities.
How should they be involved in those communities, in your opinion?
They should actually be talking to them.
Why aren't they talking to them? They're afraid, they don't know, they don't understand?
They don't understand, there's no money there for them. They just do their thing.
Interesting. So what gives you the motivation to be different than those who've taken power currently?
I'm not corrupted by the government yet. Once you get involved in politics, you see most people get a little bit, they have their business and families and friends are higher, the nepotism side of it, all that. I'm running against that. I would run against it.
What prevents you from doing the same when you get in?
Nothing prevents me to it except my morals. And I will run on not hiring family, not hiring friends and family businesses because they're friends. You hire the best people for the job, or county contracts, state contracts and stuff are lowest bidder, but you can't be hiring family and friends that aren't qualified just to pay them off.
Everyone is told that is the motivation to have the cleanest environment possible. How does that fall apart over time?
The whole nepotism and family stuff?
Yeah, why is local government prone to corruption more than large government, or is that not the case?
It's the same everywhere. It doesn't matter, local, state, federal, it's the same across the board. For me, I've been so focused on town issues lately, you kind of see it more open. A lot of stuff, the state in general is pretty bad.
So what is the question that you're posing to the citizens and the other politicians that you're posing? What is the question you're posing?
Honestly, I just want them to actually go to these other towns and start thinking about other people instead of just the question.
Why aren't they doing it?
Why aren't they doing it? How do we fix it? And why are they being ignored so long?
Why have the constituents been ignored or the town issues?
Both.
I'll tell you why. I want to ask the AI its opinion, and I'm trying to come up with the right question.
If you look at their building, they love building these. They're trying to build all these apartment complexes everywhere. It's great, right? They're never going to build them in Lloyd Harbor. They're never going to build them in Centerport. Where are they going to build them? Huntington Station. They're going to build them in the areas that they can fit more people and the big money people will not complain about.
So they're building out in areas that don't affect wealthy areas.
Yeah.
So, okay, but isn't there something logical to that?
There is, but they're protecting the land in Lloyd Harbor. They're protecting all that stuff. It's only to go into historic and preservation. They won't do that in other towns.
They won't do that in other towns.
Other
What do you
areas.
mean? Can you explain a little bit more detail?
Because Huntington Station, they want to build up. Look, for me, they really want to put all these apartments, pack people in, and it's, they're calling it affordable housing, but their affordable housing is like $500,000. I don't really call that affordable.
So they're not really making affordable housing.
They want to pack in these giant 300 condo units, apartment units, selling for like $800,000, $900,000. That doesn't fit in that community.
And what's going to be the fallout? What's going to be the fallout?
More and more young people moving out. They can't afford to live there. The older generation, they're not going to be afford to live here either.
They're not going to be able to afford to live here.
No, it's going to be kept for the richer people or People who have some type of family money or just a decent job at least to be able to support it.
And the environment will be affected negatively by those actions.
Of course. Now you're looking at more sewage usage, water usage, pollution, cars, go down the line.
And what do you plan to do about it? How do you plan to correct this?
We've been fighting for a lot of the big buildings here in my town, basically pulling up all the laws and old historical documents we can, trying to get things preserved, and meeting with a lot of the local politicians and councilmen, trying to see if we can work with some of them.
And it's been effective to a point.
To a point, but
because they're not ready to take you into the party, if you will,
but money still
to argue
talks.
this point, right?
Yeah, we're still the outside activist.
You're still the outside activist. How does that change? How does like Aaron Brockovich go from that to somebody who's internationally known?
I think a lot of it's luck. I mean, being in the right place, having the good voice, and getting people to listen to you, the local people it affects. We're building, they're trying to build in Elwood area. We got to get those people involved. So you have to get into that neighborhood and you got to talk to them and you got to get them rallied up.
And the current politicians aren't doing that, because I know certainly people who are with the party go door to door and knock and speak with them individually, don't they?
They do, for their own issues. They're not discussing the local issues that the constituents want. They're only talking about the issues they're bringing to them.
So they're steering the issues. They're not letting them think for themselves, you think?
If I go into a low-income
Why? Because maybe local people don't even know the issues.
Also true, but I go into a lower-income area, what am I going to talk about? Affordable housing, right? Things like that. Cheaper apartments, ways that benefit them. But it doesn't happen. But they kind of entice them that way.
But they're talking points.
100%.
Wow, interesting. So is there a particular party you want to be picked up from that you're seeing has better momentum in this region?
I think it's very split. New York politics are really strange right now. Long Island is such a mix. I think Huntington Town Council is going to be mostly Republican by next year.
Okay.
It's a very mixed bag in each town. County level, it's very mixed. The state is kind of a thing. You got the Zeldin people, you got definitely the Hochul people, and it's very, very divided right now.
So I was thinking about Governor Hochul for a bit there. There's a friend who told me that Tier 5 employees are now vested. So Governor Hochul did make that change in New York State where Tier 5 folks are now vested in the retirement system, and that was done not bipartisan. Everyone agreed.
That's a good thing.
And many people benefited in New York State by that. Yet it cost the taxpayer money.
It does.
So what's the good and bad in that?
Their problem is, things like that are a good thing for the people, for the workers. But New York and most politicians have a bigger problem: spending. They want to, if they cut some of the spending on the, again, redundant, useless stuff, they could afford to have that without hurting the taxpayers.
How do you get there?
Well, this is where they have to actually audit. They have to audit themselves. Somebody's got to audit them. They can't audit themselves because that doesn't really work.
Yes,
we know it doesn't work.
Auditing oneself doesn't
work. We need to really open those books. We need transparency in government. We need to see what they're spending on, why they're spending on, who they're connected to, so we can start cutting that out.
Transparency in government is hard to achieve because everyone is in this nepotism sort of state. Why is nepotism ugly for us to bring up in these conversations? Why shouldn't we talk about nepotism?
I think everybody should. I mean, I know a lot of people talk it's like kind of taboo because everybody does it. They do it so openly. Friends, family, cousins, mom, dad, they're all in some business. These politicians run, and you look at their campaign staff.
So you believe nepotism is a big part, a big problem in this country in local government?
In government, 100%.
Yeah, let's see what the AI says.
I like it.
We're going to the AI. Okay, so hi ChatGPT, how are you today? Good, thank you. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Okay, is nepotism a a problem in local government in the USA. Is that good? Or in New York?
I like it.
In the USA?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty much across the board.
Okay. Let's see. Nepotism, which is the practice of favoring family members or close associates, can be a problem in organizations, including local government in the U.S. However, the extent of the problem varies depending on the specific location and context. In some cases, nepotism in local government may be evident in the hiring or promotion of family members of elected officials, pretty generic. This can lead to concerns about fairness. However, many local governments in the U.S. have policies and regulations in place to prevent or mitigate nepotism, such as prohibitions on hiring family members or requiring disclosure of potential conflicts of interest. Additionally, there are often public oversight mechanisms, such as ethics boards or inspector generals, that can investigate allegations of nepotism and hold government officials accountable. Overall, while nepotism can be a problem in local government in the USA, the severity of the issue and effectiveness of effort to address can vary widely depending on the specific location and circumstance.
Accountability is a funny story there.
Is nepotism a problem in New York government in 2023? I'm making a point here which is important, you know. In 2018, New York State Legislature passed a law that bars public officials from hiring and promoting their relatives, as well as close associates, from positions in state or local government agencies. The law also prohibits officials from using their positions to influence hiring decisions in favor of family members and associates.
Yeah, the contracts, we know.
Despite these measures, there have been instances of alleged nepotism in New York State government in recent years. For example, in 2020, the New York State mayor was cited for appointing his wife to a leadership role in a citywide initiative. However, it is important to note that not all allegations of nepotism are proven or substantiated, and there are ongoing efforts to improve transparency and accountability in New York State government. What do you think, Doc?
There will never be any transparency or accountability in government, especially in New York.
Why is the AI answering this way?
I think it's picking up from across the country. I think it does vary maybe it varies depending on different location, different states, but I see a lot of it is most politicians are what? You see coming on lawyers, accountants, big business owners. When you get into politics, do you give up your contacts? You own a business with 50 vendors under you. Do you know them?
Yeah, I know some of them, yes.
Yeah, you know who your contacts are. Even if you sell the business, you move on, do you still have those connections?
Yes.
Do you trust those guys? You've worked with them 20 years.
The few that I picked out, yeah, we
so
still
if you're
go on.
You're going to pick up a company for a contract, who are you going to look for? Guys
People you know you could trust.
100%.
But you should be completely excluded from selection committees in that case.
Of course.
But even the people in the selection committee are like, oh, he likes those guys, so I'm going to be biased because I want him to like me.
A friend of a friend.
It's so hard.
It is.
So here's the problem I'm seeing with the AI. The AI in its strong willingness, I don't know, its willingness or its strong effort to be neutral, is it hiding things that we should know about? In order for AI to be neutral, will it wash away the sins of the past?
That's a really interesting thing. It is definitely seems like it's finding that middle ground on every question here. Is there a way to avoid it, or is it programming wise of it?
I don't know. I'm concerned about this. On one hand, you don't want to complain about it, but is the AI going to make an effort to neutralize things that are good and bad, to make things more generic, but ultimately really disguising or not finding those things important? I mean, these answers I find pretty interesting, but then again, is our Does this also mean that maybe our perspective, are we too looking into it too much? Is the AI saying it should be like this? Are we looking into it too much? Or is the AI, in fact, suppressing?
I think
I'm really at a crossroads on this.
I think it could be a mixture of both. It definitely could, but you said you'd have to see where the AI is really pulling its stuff from.
How is AI going to be used in government in the future? How are these tools going to change the way we live in government?
I have no idea at this moment. I'd say this stuff is still pretty new, and maybe it does have its uses in government, but...
Let's do another test, man. Let's do another test. How about give me a particular local issue that should be exposed? Is there one particular issue that we can see what the AI opinion is on?
Like I said, everybody's talking about housing right now.
Okay.
How do we solve the affordable housing issue?
How, or what are the best options to solve the affordable housing issue on Long Island?
Yeah.
Issue in New York?
In New York, make it a little more.
Issue in New York in 2023. How's that, guys? You like that one? Survey says, let's see what we got
They're
here.
going to say build high-density apartments. Oh.
Increase funding for affordable housing. Okay, that's pretty obvious. Reform zoning laws. Okay. Increase tenant protections, such as stronger tenant protections can help prevent displacement and ensure that renters have access to affordable housing. Number 4, encourage the development of co-op housing.
There we go.
Develop mixed-use developments. Number 6, increase public transportation options. Okay. Now, one of the options here is to say the word more, and the AI will continue on. Number 7, use vacant properties for affordable housing.
That I'm 100% for.
Okay. Develop affordable housing near job centers. Okay. Encourage the development of tiny homes.
Tiny homes are interesting.
Partner with nonprofit organizations.
I'm always for nonprofits and private organizations.
Increase the use of modular homes and housing.
It works in a lot of other states.
I just want to stop here for a second. What is a tiny house, number 9? What the hell?
You ever see those tiny homes?
Tiny homes are being increasingly popular solutions for affordable housing. Encouraging the development of tiny homes in designated areas could provide an affordable housing option for low-income individual families. Like in the movie where they shrunk everybody to like little tiny, like in that movie?
No, we're looking at, like, they're small, God, like the size of a, like, I don't know,
like can we show like a little tiny, like a little baby house?
Like a small apartment, usually it's like a loft type bed of married. Everything's kind of modular.
How big are we talking?
We're talking like a, you can stand up in it, small shower.
Small, like how many square feet roughly?
It's gonna be tiny, probably 200 maybe.
200 square feet.
300. Everything's modular, like Murphy bed type stuff.
My God!
You turn the table over, and you got a couch, and everything kind of works to be modular.
Encourage the development of tiny homes. All right. Let's see. Okay. Let's go, guys. More. I want more. 13. Increase the availability of low-interest loans. Doctor?
Low-interest loans? The banks aren't going to go with that.
Let's continue on. Improve the quality of existing affordable housing units. Spend money on improving the existing.
You're spending taxpayers' money, though, and you got to be careful with that.
Okay. Number 15, expand homeownership opportunities for low-income households. Wasn't that tried twice?
It's been tried.
It didn't really go
over
so
and
well.
over again.
Yeah, I don't know about that. All right, okay.
A tiny home is interesting, though.
Address the root causes of the affordable housing issue. Addressing the root causes of the affordable housing issue in New York City will require a broader focus on issues such as income inequality, job creation, access to education and training. These broader issues must be addressed to create a more equitable and just society in which all residents must have access to safe and affordable housing.
So you attack the issues and not just try to band-aid the problem.
I know everybody's thinking about it. Let's see more. We got to go more. We got to go deeper. Number 18, create a land trust for affordable housing. What does that mean, a land trust? What is that?
Isn't it like a shared land?
The city could create a land trust for affordable housing, which would involve the city purchasing land and then leasing it to developers who are committed to building affordable housing units on this land.
So a town gets the money or the city gets the money.
All right, the AI can't stop here.
It's going.
It's definitely giving us more. Number 19, provide tax incentives to developers. Didn't we hear that earlier?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Create a public-private partnership. The city could partner with private developers, like we said at number 18, the land trust sort of thing. Implement inclusatory zoning. Inclusatory zoning requires the developer to set aside a certain percentage of units in a new development for low-income residents. The city could implement inclusionary zoning policies to help increase the availability. We're doing that now.
They do it, it doesn't work.
We're doing that. Okay. Number 22, create a voucher program. Create a product for low-income residents. Okay.
I think it's been tried before, but...
Number 23, a housing bank.
Housing bank?
The city could create a housing bank, which would involve the city purchasing distressed properties and then renovating them into affordable housing units. The city could then sell and lease the properties to low-income residents at affordable rates.
From what I heard, I think Huntington did one years ago, and I think they lost $300,000 on it.
More, give me more. Come on. Number 24, create a community land trust. It's repeating itself.
No, it's a community, though. It's a little different.
A community, sorry.
So that's like basically a community, people get together and buy the land, I'm assuming.
Okay,
Kinda
get
lease it out
together.
from there.
It's a big get together.
It's like when you do community farming, like they do that big trust lands for the farming.
Community farming, how exciting. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, does that community farming work, or is it one guy end up eating all the food?
I don't know much about it.
All right, let's go here. It's going nuts. It really... Now, don't you find this absolutely fascinating?
It is interesting.
What is going on here with this? I mean, come on, bud. Have you done these searches before?
No, I have not.
All right, so
now
let's
I'm gonna
go
have
back.
to go play.
All right, community land, create a community land trust. Number 25, improve public housing. We did that one.
Yep.
New York City's public housing stock is in need of repair and renovation. Provide legal assistance for tenants. Number 26.
Then again, who pays for that?
What?
Who pays for it?
Well, us taxpayers.
We got to stop killing them too.
Improve access to credit. Number 27.
Haven't we gone down that road before? We gave everybody loans and didn't go well.
Provide incentives for landlords to maintain affordable housing. 28.
I could see that. Tax credits and stuff like that for the renters.
29. Increase the availability of low-income housing tax credits.
Yep. That's a possibility.
Number 30. Build public-private partnership to create mixed-use developments. Hey, come on in. How you doing? What's going on? We have another guest who joined. I'm going to point the camera at him. And let me loosen my thing here so my camera doesn't break. We have a new guest who joined. Let's say hi. How are you?
Hello.
Welcome. So yes, we did a little bit of a photo shoot, and Philip Armand came to help us with some of the photo shoot there. We're going through some AI stuff that's really mind-blowing.
Okay.
So let me continue on here.
I'm going to step out. I'm just going to say hello.
Really? Well, hang on. We'll be done in just a few minutes here. We're going 35 minutes. We're almost done. I'm just bothering him. Number 30, build public-private partnership to create mixed-use developments.
All right, public-private.
So I just want to make a point of all this. So I just sat with somebody who's in Suffolk County Politics, and this AI just gave us 30 really important things that could be done to improve housing in that region. Agreed?
Yeah, you give us 30 options right there. Yeah.
So you don't, did you know all this before we did the AI searches?
Some of them, no, but some of them are good ideas. Like I said,
What didn't you know when we did those searches?
I've seen the tiny homes, but thinking about a tiny home community, you could probably get quite a few homes in there. They're small enough, and people would rather have a home than have nothing.
They're talking to Phil. So one of the options was to recommend tiny homes. Why are tiny homes so cool? What's up with the tiny homes? Just give me a rough yes.
Why are tiny homes?
Yes.
I think people are becoming minimalist. Big
Minimalists.
Huge movement.
Yep.
And one, the overhead is ridiculous in New York. So
Overhead's ridiculous
city
in New
people who
York.
are flocking into the suburbs are okay with small spaces.
Really, city people flocking to the suburbs. Aren't they coming here to get a bigger space?
Listen, a tiny home might be bigger than a studio apartment.
Mm.
There's a few in my neighborhood. If you drive through my neighborhood, behind people's houses, there's tiny homes.
Does it make sense that political activists would turn to the AI for these answers before they created their campaigns?
It definitely wouldn't be a bad idea to start reviewing and going through it and get some ideas from it, but you have to research every one, but it gives you some talking points.
Does it end up making everybody too generic and
It
the
might.
same?
It might. You might ruin some unique ideas somebody might have because they're going to follow the AI.
Wow, interesting. All right, guys. Well, thank you, Artie. It is a pleasure
Thank you
to have
very
you on
much.
the show. And, see you guys next week. Not sure. We got a lot of interesting stuff going on here. More AI. I'm blown away by this, Maybe I should ask it, what should I do on the show next week? What's a good subject for a podcast in March 2023? Let's see what the AI says while we're here together. Don't have knowledge of events, but look, mindfulness and self-care. Mindfulness and self-care.
Self-care is always a good thing.
Thank you. The power of storytelling. That's a really good one. Entrepreneurship. We've had a few shows about that. Creativity and innovation. Of course, we've had Philip Armand, the hypnotist. Science and technology. We talk about that often. History and culture. Of course, we've had a number of history lessons, especially what happened in when the big blowout happened with online casinos. Social justice and activism. Well, here you go. That's this show, number 7. Health and wellness, that's another good suggestion.
Always.
Well, I got to be honest with you. These top 8 tips will be incorporated into my future shows. Thank you, ChatGPT. I will be hitting more many times after the show to give me more ideas, but I'll be placing the questions more than the answers. What's important about this, and please follow, I want to leave everybody with this thought. ChatGPT can give you answers like this all of the time. It may not be about the answer you're getting, but the question you're asking.
Yes.
Would society improve if we changed to asking the right question compared to spitting out generic answers?
It all starts by asking the right question.
Right? Doesn't AI have the chance of really altering our society for better communication?
In the future,
for better
it definitely
everything?
Very well
Right?
might.
Asking the right question.
Yep.
So, all right. Thank you, everybody. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.